When you stop texting and calling, something very interesting happens. It's like turning off the background noise in a room. You suddenly hear what's actually there. When you're the one always reaching out, always making plans, always checking in, you never truly know where you stand. You don't get to see how much of the connection is being built by you and how much is actually mutual. But when you stop, that's when everything becomes clear. Most people think, if I stop texting him, he'll forget about me. But that's not how human nature works. We don't forget the people who truly make an impact on us. We don't forget those who add value to our lives. When someone stops calling or texting, it doesn't erase the emotions we've associated with them. It intensifies them. It creates space for reflection. And that reflection either draws someone closer or reveals that they were never really present in the first place. A man who values you, who genuinely enjoys your presence in his life, will notice your absence. He will feel it, and that feeling will push him to act. He'll reach out. He'll start to wonder why the pattern has changed, why the person who used to always be there is suddenly missing. It stirs something deep inside, something primal, the fear of loss. But here's the truth. If a man doesn't react, if he doesn't feel the need to step up, then you've just been given the clearest answer you could ever ask for. And I know that can be painful to hear, but it's also liberating, because when you realize that your effort was the glue holding everything together, you stop wasting time on the wrong people. You stop bending over backward for someone who wouldn't even lean forward for you. There's an important shift that happens when you stop chasing. You move from being someone who's always in pursuit to someone who stands still and lets things come to them. It's not about playing games or manipulating someone into missing you. It's about breaking the cycle of overinvestment and allowing the relationship to unfold naturally. A lot of people struggle with this. They think, but if I don't remind him I exist, he'll move on. And yes, that's a possibility. But ask yourself this. If your presence in someone's life depends entirely on you reminding them, initiating every conversation, keeping the energy alive, is that really a relationship you want to fight for? Do you really want to be in a dynamic where you are the only one who seems to care enough to make things happen? The people who truly matter in your life, the ones who are meant to be there, don't need constant reminders to value you. They just do. When they feel your absence, they acknowledge it. They don't just let you disappear into the background. They take action because losing you isn't something they're willing to risk. Now, what does this actually look like in real life? Let's say you've been messaging him consistently, always being the first to text, always initiating plans. You decide to take a step back, not as a test, not as a strategy, but as a genuine decision to see if the effort is mutual. Days go by, and you hear nothing. Maybe a week, 2 weeks. What is that telling you? It's telling you that when you remove your energy from the situation, there was nothing left sustaining it. That when you stopped initiating, there was no natural pull on his end to maintain the connection. That realization is powerful because it means you are now free to stop investing in someone who was never fully invested in you. On the other hand, if he reaches out, if he starts initiating, it shows that he was engaged all along. Maybe he had become comfortable with you always taking the lead, but your absence woke him up to the fact that this connection wasn't something to take for granted. That's when you get to see his real level of interest. Not the kind where he responds when you text first, not the kind where he gives you attention when it's convenient for him, but the kind where he actively chooses you because he wants to. This is why stepping back isn't about playing hard to get. It's about understanding your worth. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and effort are valuable, and they should be given to people who genuinely reciprocate. It's about creating space for the right kind of connection instead of forcing something that isn't real. So if you ever find yourself afraid to stop texting and calling because you think you'll lose him, ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid of losing? Because if the only thing keeping him around is your effort, then you've already lost more than you think. And if stepping back makes him realize he doesn't want to lose you, then you've just given yourself the best possible confirmation that he actually cares. Either way, you win. You ever notice how people suddenly realize the value of something the moment they sense it slipping away? It's like when you're at a restaurant and you're taking your time with your meal. The moment the waiter comes by and reaches for your plate, even if you weren't that hungry, suddenly you're like, wait, I'm not done with that yet. It's funny how we work like that, isn't it? And when it comes to relationships, this dynamic plays out in an even bigger way. When you stop texting and calling, something fascinating happens. The person who has grown accustomed to your attention starts to feel its absence. And that absence creates a reaction. It's human nature. When something is constantly available, we don't think twice about it. But the moment it's no longer there, we start questioning, wait, what happened? Where did they go? This shift creates what I call the chase instinct. Men are wired to chase what they perceive as valuable, and that value is often measured by scarcity. Think about it. When was the last time you saw someone scrambling to buy something they could get anytime, anywhere? The things that feel rare, exclusive, or even just a little out of reach create desire. And when you stop being the one who always reaches out first, the dynamic flips. Suddenly, he's left wondering where your attention went. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's about understanding the reality of human behavior. When you're always the one initiating, checking in, and making plans, you create an imbalance. He never has to question whether you're interested because your effort constantly reassures him, but the second that effort stops, that's when things get interesting. At first, he might not even notice. Maybe he's used to you always being the one to text good morning or ask how his day was, but after a while, that silence becomes noticeable. He starts checking his phone, wondering why it hasn't buzzed with your name. He might even scroll through old conversations looking for clues. Was something wrong? Did he miss something? And as that space grows, so does his curiosity. The moment a man starts questioning why you're no longer giving him the attention he once took for granted, something shifts in his mindset. Suddenly, you're not a given, you're a mystery. And that mystery is powerful. It sparks intrigue, forces him to reflect, and if he truly values you, it compels him to take action. And here's the part that most people get wrong. They panic. They think, oh no, what if he just forgets about me? So they cave in, they reach out, they send that little, hey, how's it going text just to check. And in that moment, they hand back all the power they had just gained. Because here's the truth. If someone can forget about you just because you stopped texting, they were never really that interested in the first place. The right guy, the one who actually values you, isn't going to forget. He's going to feel your absence, and that feeling is going to drive him to make a move. He might send a casual message first just to test the waters. Something simple like, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. How's everything? That's his way of checking, are you still there? Are you still interested? And how you respond in that moment makes all the difference. This is where you maintain your power. Instead of jumping back into old habits, you mirror his effort. If he sends a one-word text, you don't respond with a novel. If he suddenly wants to see you, you don't drop everything to be available. You set the tone for how you want to be treated going forward. Because the goal isn't just to make him chase, it's to create a relationship where effort is mutual, where he isn't just reaching out because he feels your absence, but because he genuinely values your presence. The truth is, attraction isn't just about how much someone likes you, it's about how much they fear losing you. And when you stop being the one who always makes the effort, you give a man the opportunity to prove what you actually mean to him. If he steps up, great. If he doesn't, then you have your answer. Either way, you win. So let him feel it. Let him wonder. Let him realize what it feels like when you're not always there, because when you do, you're not just making him chase, you're making space for the right person to show up. When you stop texting and calling, something interesting happens. At first, it might feel like you're losing control, like the silence is too loud and you're tempted to reach out just to fill that space. But that space, this absence, is where the real clarity happens. Because in that space, he's forced to reflect. He has to sit with the shift in energy, with the sudden lack of validation that he may have been taking for granted. And that's when the truth starts to reveal itself. People don't always realize what they have until it's no longer right in front of them. It's human nature to get comfortable with consistency. If you're always available, always the one reaching out, checking in, making plans, he never has to question whether you'll be there. He never has to step back and think, what does my life look like without her presence? But the moment you stop initiating, the moment you remove yourself from the role of constant giver, he's left with only one thing, his own effort. And that's where the reality of how much he values you or doesn't comes to light. Now, there are typically two types of men in this situation. The first type is the one who was never truly invested in the first place. Maybe he enjoyed the attention, maybe he liked the convenience of having you there whenever he wanted, but the emotional depth was never really there for him. So when you stop texting, he might barely notice, or worse, he might feel a small void but do nothing about it. And that right there tells you everything you need to know. If a man doesn't reach out when he realizes your presence is missing, he's telling you that your absence isn't significant enough for him to change anything. And that is a painful truth, but it's also a gift because it frees you from wasting your energy on someone who was never truly going to give you what you deserve. But then there's the second type of man. This is the one who, perhaps unknowingly, has taken you for granted. He's become accustomed to your effort, your consistency, your energy always being there. He may not have even realized how much he valued it until it was gone. And this is where the reflection starts to happen, because when you step back, he's left with nothing but space to think, why hasn't she texted me? Has something changed? Did I do something wrong? And more importantly, do I actually miss her, or do I just miss the attention? That last question is crucial because it determines whether he reaches out just to get back the validation he's lost, or if he reaches out because he genuinely realizes how much he values you. And you don't want the former. You don't want someone who comes back just to keep you in their life in a convenient, low-effort way. You want someone who comes back with clarity, with a deeper understanding of what they stand to lose if they don't step up. See, when a man genuinely cares about you, the realization of your absence is not just a fleeting thought. It creates a sense of urgency. It makes him reflect on all the moments he may have brushed aside, the times you were there and he didn't fully appreciate it. And this is where his actions will speak louder than words. If he values you, he won't just think about reaching out, he will. He won't just send a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" text 2 weeks later, testing the waters to see if you'll jump back in like nothing happened. No, he will actively make an effort. He'll check in, he'll make plans, he'll show through his behavior that he recognizes your worth. Because losing someone valuable is not something a man takes lightly when he actually cares. But here's the important part. None of this works if you break the silence too soon. Because the truth is, if he doesn't feel the impact of your absence, there's no reason for him to change anything. If you step back for a day or two and then cave, sending that "hey, just checking in" text, you're not actually giving him the space to feel what it's like without you. You're just reassuring him that no matter what he does, you'll always be the one to bridge the gap. And that's not the message you want to send. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What if I lose him? What if he never reaches out? And that's a valid fear. But if silence is all it takes to lose someone, then that person was never truly yours in the first place. If he doesn't step up, if he lets you slip away without a second thought, then he was never invested at the level you deserve. And in that case, you're not losing, you're winning. Because you're getting clarity, you're getting the information you need to move forward with someone who will actually appreciate you, instead of wasting time waiting for someone who won't. This is about valuing yourself enough to allow the right person to step up. You are not someone who should have to beg for attention, for effort, for love. The right man will recognize what he has in you without needing to be chased. And if he does, then you've just saved yourself from investing in someone who was never going to give you the kind of love you're worthy of. So step back, create that space, and let the truth reveal itself. Because the right man won't need reminding of your worth. He'll feel it the moment you're gone. If he truly cares, he won't let you slip away. He'll put in effort, make plans, and show you he wants you in his life, not just when it's convenient for him. And this is exactly where so many people get stuck. They keep reaching out, they keep initiating, they keep doing the work of two people in a relationship. And what happens? It becomes effortless for him. He gets used to you being there, always available, always eager, always showing up. But here's the reality. If someone is only present when it requires no effort on their part, then their presence is not a sign of value, it's a sign of convenience. So you pull back, not as a game, not to manipulate, but because you realize you deserve more than a one-sided effort. And this is where the real test begins. Because a man who truly wants to be with you will notice. He will feel the difference when your messages stop coming in, when you're no longer the first to check in, when you're not the one keeping the momentum alive. And in that moment, he has a choice. Does he step up or does he fade away? A man who genuinely values you will not let you become an afterthought. He will not sit back, watching the silence grow, comfortable in your absence. He will feel it. And if you mattered to him, if your presence was something he valued, he will make the effort. Because effort is the real measure of interest. It's not words, it's not excuses, it's action. If he cares, you'll see it in how he reacts to the space you create. He will reach out, he will want to know where you've gone, why things feel different, why the dynamic has shifted. And in doing so, he reveals his true level of investment. But what if he doesn't? What if he does nothing? Then you have your answer. You see, silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's a response. It tells you everything you need to know about where you stood in his life. Because a man who lets you walk away without so much as a fight was never holding on to you in the first place. And I know that's hard to hear, because the fantasy is that he just needs time, that he's just busy, that maybe he doesn't realize what he's losing. But the truth is, the person who truly sees your value doesn't need to lose you to appreciate you. He values you in the moment, not just in retrospect. So when you stop texting, when you stop calling, when you remove yourself from being the one who always makes the effort, the man in front of you has a decision to make. Does he move towards you, or does he simply let you go? If he lets you go, your job is not to chase, not to beg, not to overanalyze why he didn't do more. Your job is to accept what his actions are telling you and redirect your energy to someone who sees you for. Because here's the thing, the wrong person will get used to your effort. They will become comfortable knowing that you're always there, that no matter how little they give, you'll keep showing up. But the right person will notice your absence. The right person will feel your silence and realize it's their turn to act. And when they do, it won't feel like a game, it won't feel forced, it will feel like effort from someone who actually cares. So stop doing the work for people who don't meet you halfway. Stop proving your value to someone who isn't showing you theirs. Stop holding on to someone who lets you go without a second thought, because the person who wants you in their life will always make sure you know it. When you stop over-investing in someone who isn't showing up for you, something remarkable happens. You regain your power. And I don't mean power in the sense of control or manipulation. I mean the kind of power that comes from self-respect, from knowing your worth, from stepping into the version of yourself that doesn't chase, but attract. Because the moment you stop making excuses for someone's lack of effort, the moment you stop stretching yourself to fill the gaps they've left, is the moment you start shifting the dynamic entirely. So many people pour their energy into someone who, frankly, isn't giving them enough back. And when you do that, you become someone who is constantly waiting for a text, waiting for a call, waiting for a plan that never seems to materialize. And that waiting puts you in a position where your happiness, your confidence, your sense of security, it all starts to depend on someone else's inconsistent actions. But the truth is, the more you invest in someone who isn't investing in you, the more you lose sight of yourself. The more you give without reciprocity, the more you reinforce the idea that your value is tied to someone else's attention. Now, the moment you stop texting first, the moment you stop being the one who always initiates, what happens? You feel it, don't you? That anxiety, that fear that if you don't reach out, maybe they won't either. Maybe they'll forget about you. Maybe you'll just fade into the background. And that fear makes you want to grab your phone and send another message, just to remind them you're still there, just to see if they'll respond. But this is where everything shifts. Because if someone is only there because you keep reminding them to be, that's not connection, that's maintenance. And a truly valuable relationship doesn't need to be maintained like that. It flows. It moves naturally. It's built on mutual effort, not one person carrying all the weight. Something fascinating happens when you pull back. Not as a game, not as some strategic move to trick someone into wanting you, but as a natural response to a situation where you've been giving more than you're receiving. When you stop being the one who always makes it happen, you give them space to show you how much they actually care. And here's the reality. When a person values you, when they truly want to be with you, they will notice your absence. And not only will they notice it, but they will do something about it. They will reach out, they will initiate, they will show up. Because people fight for what they don't want to lose. And if they don't, if you pull back and they just let the connection fade, that tells you everything you need to know. It tells you that you were holding on to something that wasn't meant for you. It tells you that your energy, your love, your time, things that should be cherished, were being given to someone who wasn't capable or willing to appreciate them. And as painful as that realization can be, it's also freeing. Because now, instead of wasting time wondering why they aren't putting in effort, you get to redirect that energy back to yourself. And that's where your power comes from. It comes from knowing that you don't have to chase, you don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to keep trying to convince someone to see how amazing you are. You already are, and the right person will recognize that without you needing to remind them. The biggest transformation doesn't happen when you finally get a text back. It doesn't happen when they suddenly realize they miss you and come running back. It happens the moment you realize you never needed that validation in the first place. It happens when you wake up and realize your happiness is not tied to their response time. It happens when you stop waiting and start living, because the more you focus on yourself, on your passions, your growth, your own fulfillment, the more attractive you become, not just to them, but to everyone around you, because confidence is magnetic. Self-respect is magnetic. A life that is full and exciting, with or without them, is magnetic. When you stop texting and calling, their reaction will tell you everything, but more importantly, your reaction will tell you even more. Will you sit in fear, wondering if they'll notice? Or will you take that space and use it to build something even better for yourself? That's the real question. And the answer? That's up to you. When you pull back, when you stop being the one to always text first, to always initiate the call, something fascinating happens. You get to see a man for who he really is. Because the wrong guy, the one who was just enjoying your attention, will quietly disappear. And the right guy, he will step up. You see, there are people in life who love the comfort of having someone there. They enjoy the validation, the reassurance, the idea that someone is thinking about them. It strokes their ego. But it doesn't necessarily mean they value you. There's a big difference between enjoying attention and actually valuing a person. And when you remove that constant stream of effort on your part, you reveal everything. You expose whether he was truly present in the relationship or if he was just along for the ride. A man who is only in it for the surface level thrill, the casual convenience, will not fight for you when you stop initiating. He will not suddenly wake up and think, I need to make sure I don't lose this woman. Instead, he'll drift away because the only thing keeping the connection alive was the effort you were putting in. And once that effort is gone, there's nothing left for him to hold on to. And that tells you everything you need to know. But a man who genuinely cares, a man who recognizes your worth, he will feel the shift. He will notice the silence, not just as a missing notification on his phone, but as a missing presence in his life. And it will create a moment of clarity for him, a moment where he realizes he cannot afford to be passive anymore. It's easy to take something for granted when it's always available. When you're always the one reaching out, always making sure there's a conversation happening, always ensuring that he feels wanted, he never has to question what life would be like without that. But when you stop, that's when reality kicks in. He is faced with a choice. Either he steps up and shows you through action that you matter to him, or he lets the connection fade, proving that it was never built on something real in the first place. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if he just doesn't know how to respond? What if he's just shy? Listen, a man who genuinely wants you in his life will find a way to show it, whether he's shy, busy, or not sure what to say. A man who cares will always make sure you know it. And if he doesn't, if he disappears, that's a gift, because you have just saved yourself from investing in someone who was never willing to invest in you. Relationships should not feel like a performance where you constantly have to keep the energy up just to hold someone's attention. A man who truly values you will not let your silence be the end of the story. He will write the next chapter. He will show up. He will take action. And he will prove, not just with words but with effort, that you are someone he sees in his future. So when you stop texting, when you stop calling, and he lets you go, let him. Because the right man, he won't let the story end like that.